Hello and welcome to the Get Real Football Experts podcast. I'm your host Louis DB at DB Sports Talk. Check me out on Twitter. And today we're doing another schedule rundown edition. It's the AFC South version. I'm doing the Colts and Titans, and Dave is doing the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we're gonna kick it off right now. We're gonna do it the Tennessee Titans. The Colts one will be up. Will already be up at this time. So the Titans are a team that very interesting. They did some big offseason moves, getting Andy Levitre, the offensive guard from the Bills, and also getting Chance Warmack in the first round, another offensive guard from Alabama. So it's going to be interesting to see how they develop, and also looking at Jake Locker, obviously in his third year. Uh, it's been off to a slow start for him. So we're gonna, kick this off. Chris Johnson had a okay year last year. So he's looking to have a bounce back year as well. And with the offensive guards that they got, I think that's really going to help them out. Also, they acquired Sean Green, the former starter of the Jets, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, to ease the load off of Chris Johnson. But if you're a fantasy owner, just saying, I don't really like that move personally. So let's kick it off. The Tennessee Titans, Week 1, they're away against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a team that they actually beat last year, Monday Night Football. Matt Hasselbeck, who was there, he's now a Colt. I think they're going to lose this game, though. I think the Steelers are honestly a Super Bowl contending team this year, and that's just my opinion. Not a lot of people think that, but I think that this is going to be a tough one. It's at Pittsburgh. I know that they want to beat Tennessee coming off of last year's loss, but I mean, when you look at how Pittsburgh's built, I think it's going to take some time for the Titans everything to gel. They got a new receiver in Justin Hunter. It's going to be interesting to see how he produces. But I think the Steelers defense is really going to give Jake Locker and Chris Johnson a hard time, and I think the Titans will drop to 0-1. Moving into Week 2, where they're away against the division rival Houston Texans, a team last year won a playoff game, but again couldn't get over the hump in that second round. They beat the Bengals and lost to the Patriots. Arian Foster, Andre Johnson. They got DeAndre Hopkins in the first round to go across from Andre Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And I think that, honestly, I think that they're going to lose this game. I think the Texans are a much better team than the Titans. It's going to be fun to watch, though. Chris Johnson versus Arian Foster, two running backs going at a very good Texans defense. I think Ed Reed's going to have a big game against Jake Locker. Jake Locker is going to really have to watch out for J.J. Watt. That's the key matchup is either Chance Warmack or Andy Levitre versus J.J. Watt. That's going to be pretty fun to watch. I think if you're a lineman type guy, I think it's fun to watch. So they'll start off 0-2, a bit of a rough start, and they'll start in Week 3 home against the Chargers, and I think it's their home opener. The Chargers, I think, aren't that much better of a team other than they have a better quarterback. I think that the Titans are going to win this game, and I think it's the run game attack. Chris Johnson needs to attack that defensive line for the Chargers. It's pretty weak. They lost Sean Phillips. They do have Dwight Freeney, but they lost Sean Phillips, and they lost Melvin Ingram, who's down with a torn ACL, I believe, or Achilles, but he'll probably be out for the year. And they'll improve to 1-2. Just attack that defense. The Chargers defense to me is one of the weak links. They lost Quentin Jammer to the Broncos as well, but they do still have Eric Castillo, who's probably one of the best safeties in the league. Arguably, he is being paid as one of the best. So Week 4, they're 1-2 against the New York Jets, which I don't really need to explain what's going on with them. Mark Sanchez versus Geno Smith in a quarterback battle. They got new running back Chris Ivory to run the helm. Another year for Stephen Hill, the second-year receiver. Santonio Holmes hopefully can stay healthy. They honestly don't have that bad of a receiving core. And then Jeremy Curley, he had over 800 yards last year. People don't give him enough credit. But I think the Titans are going to win this one and improve to 500 at 2-2. I think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. And I think the Titans' defense is their weak link, I think. But they do have some key pieces on that roster. I like the pickup of George Wilson they got from the Bills. I think he's a very good safety. I think it's going to really help that secondary. That's not the worst, but it's not one of their strong spots. Losing Cortland Finnegan to the Rams last season, so I think they'll improve to 2-2. If you can just outscore the Jets, because the Jets defense is very good. You have D. Milner and you have Antonio Cromartie as your corners. They did lose Laron Landry though, which is a tough spot. But I think the key is Justin Hunter, honestly, because who is the Jets' slot corner going to be? You do have Milner and Antonio Cromartie, but if Isaiah Trufant's the slot guy, I think that you need to look for Justin Hunter, or maybe even put Kenny Britt in the slot. And I think Kendall Wright's going to have a pretty big year. But this is going to be a fun game to watch, receiver versus corners. Obviously, Kenny Britt and Wright on the outsides. And that's going to be interesting to see if Nate Washington gets as many snaps as he did last year, or if Justin Hunter will come into his own, even though he is a bit raw. So they're going to improve to 2-2 heading into Week 5, where they're home against the Kansas City Chiefs, a team with a lot of new pieces. Alex Smith is the new quarterback. Matt Castle is now in Minnesota. Andy Reid is the new head coach, coming from the Philadelphia Eagles, the best winning coach of all-time Eagles history. And they have had the first overall pick last year, taking Eric Fisher, but I think this team's ready to win now. They have some key pieces on defense. Derek Johnson, the linebacker, Justin Houston, and Tamba Ali as the pass rushers. Then you have in the secondary Eric Berry, Brandon Flowers, Sean Smith they got from the Dolphins, and also Donta Robinson they got from the Falcons, who will be a good slot corner. But I think that the Titans, this is going to be a tough game. I think they're going to lose and drop to 2-3. Jamal Charles versus that defense, I think, is going to be the key. And the Titans' defensive line, it's not one of their strong spots. I think the Titans they needed to do some, I don't know how to say it. They needed to go after some defense in the draft, honestly. I'm sorry for the delay, but because, Chase Warmack's a very good player. He was probably best player available, but with the signing of Andy LaVitre, how much did you need Chase Warmack? Yes, both there is two guard positions, but I think you could have went defense and got a really good player. Maybe D. Milner. No, wait, he went to 9, so couldn't have got him, but you could have got some key players. That's just my opinion. I think they'll drop to 2-3 based on the inability to stop the Chiefs' dynamic offense with Dwayne Bowe as well. So Week 6, they're away against the Seattle Seahawks, who, by the way, Percy Harvin might be out for some time. He is looking like he might have to have surgery. And his hip, I believe it was his lower abdominal tear, I believe, off the top of my head. But this team, I think, is still a Super Bowl contender because of Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch. You still have good receivers in Sidney Rice and Golden Tate, and that's why I think the Titans are gonna lose this game and drop to 2-4. I think that it's just obvious that the Seahawks are a better team, and it's the hardest place to play. Seattle was 8-0 last year in Seattle. I think that's pretty impressive. I would say so. And they'll drop to 2-4. Heading into Week 7, they got to go home against the San Francisco 49ers before the bye week, and I think they're going to lose this game as well, 2-5. Colin Kaepernick's read option is going to be really tough to stop. Jake Locker, I think, is going to have a tough time against that defense that, to me, is the best in the league. They have a Pro Bowler at every position. Chris Johnson's going to have a hard time against Justin Smith and Alden Smith. That offensive line is going to be, again, Chance Warmack versus Justin Smith or Andy LaVitre. That's going to be key. They're facing a lot of good interior pass rushers, and I think that they will lose this game. It's tough. Two Super Bowl contenders in a row for a team that's the Titans are rebuilding, but they also have trying to put some new pieces in place. It's hard to gel, and at the bye week they'll be 2-5. Heading into Week 9, though, they're away against the St. Louis Rams, so I think they could have an opportunity to take a win, and I think they will, and improve to 3-5. I think Jake Locker could get the best of Sam Bradford here if he can. It's going to be hard to get after Janoris Jenkins and Cortland Finnegan. I think that's the key is Kendall Wright and Britt versus them two. I think, though, that Kendall Wright might come into his own this year, maybe break 1,000 yards. He was very good last year, I think. It was just tough because of all the quarterback situation and the inability to stay consistent on the offensive side of the football for the Titans that didn't really help Kendall Wright all that much. But I think he's going to be really good this year, and I think he's going to be key in this win if he can beat Cortland Finnegan or whoever's he's being covered by. And Finnegan does face his former team. They improved to 3-5. I think also the Titans' offensive line versus Robert Quinn and Chris Long was one of the most underrated pass rushing cores. Just look what they did Thursday night against the Cardinals last season. So they're very capable of it. If the Titans' offensive line can handle that, I think they'll be all right. They lost Quentin Michael, attack that's a young safety position with T.J. McDonald, their second-round pick, as the new guy. I think they'll improve to 3-5. They got to get some wins against evenly matched teams, and I think they'll do it there. Week 10, they're home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It might seem like we're having the Jaguars go 0-16 because everybody's getting the wins, but they're just not ready to me to compete with these teams. And I think the Titans will win this and improve to 4-5. Maybe get on a bit of a roll here, try to get back in the hunt for a wild card spot, which I definitely think they could be in contention for this season. I think they're going to win it. If they can stop Cecil Shorts, I think that, and Justin Blackman, I think they're going to be all right. I don't know how well Maurice Jones-Drew is going to do coming off a season-ending injury last season, and also he held out, so he wasn't in the best shape, of course. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I think that the Jaguars' offensive line is not one of the strongest points, but I just think it's this. Jake Locker went 8th overall for a reason. He got picked over Blaine Gabbert for a reason. He has versatility. He can run the football. I think maybe if you can do some read option here, because the Jaguars defense is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That's their strong point. If they can do some read option, maybe get them on their heels, they should be okay with this win. And I think Chris Johnson's gonna have a pretty good game. He's got to stay consistent this year. There was too many times where last year he would have one game for 40 yards, and the next he'd have 100. So he's got to stay consistent this season if he wants to get back as one of the best running backs in the league, which I still think he's very capable of doing. He's still very young. So they'll improve to 4-5 heading into Week 11, where they're home against the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to lose this game. Andrew Luck is coming in his sophomore year, and I think he's going to be very good. I think that the Colts are going to have to start getting some wins here later. I have them going 10-6, I believe, in the video. And they got to get wins against a team like the Titans. But the Titans, I mean, they need to, I think, attack. I mean, they don't have to worry, I don't think, about the pass rush. The Colts still do have Robert Mathis, but they lost Dwight Freeney. I don't know how well Bjorn Warner is. I think he's a bit raw coming from Florida State, the Colts' first-round pick. I believe it was 21st overall. I think that they're going to win. The Colts are going to win it. And I think it's the inability not to be able to stop that passing game by Luck. And I think maybe if Ahmad Bradshaw and Vic Ballard can come into their own this season, if Bradshaw can stay healthy, I just don't think the Titans can beat them here late in the season. But I think they catch a break here, Week 12, or the way at the Black Hole against the Oakland Raiders, which is always a tough place to play. But I think the Titans are going to pull out a tough win here. And it is going to be tough, I think, because it's always tough to play in Oakland. And I think the Raiders, we got to see what happens with the quarterback battle between Terrell Pryor, Matt Flynn, and Tyler Wilson. I don't know if Flynn's very fond of Wilson, so if he gets beat again by a Wilson, I think he's going to a team that doesn't have but yeah, kind of cliche, but hey, I think the Titans are going to win this one and go to 5-6. Chris Johnson's going to have a huge game. The Raiders lost some big spots. They lost Michael Bennett to the Seattle Seahawks. They also lost Richard Seymour. They lost Rolando McClain. Their defense just isn't in it, and I don't think Darren McFadden can stay healthy all 16 games. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. I don't think he can stay healthy all those games. And I think that the Titans will win at 5-6. They're a better team, and I think they need to get this win if they want to get on a roll and get back into the wild card hunt. So they'll go into Week 13 away against the Colts. And again, facing Colts 2 of 3 weeks, it's just tough to go into that hostile environment and take a win, a much-needed win. I think they'll drop to 5-7. I just think the Colts are going to sweep everybody but the Texans. I think they're going to have a very good division record. I only think they're going to lose once. I think they'll split with the Texans. I have big thoughts for the Colts this year, and that's just why I have the Titans losing. So they'll drop to 5-7 heading into Week 14. They're away against the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to lose this game. I mean, the Denver Broncos are a Super Bowl contending team. They're ready to win now. And with Peyton Manning, Eric Decker, Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas, how do you stop that team? Alteron Burner's going to have his hands full. He's their best corner. I mean, and then plus you have Monty Ball and Ronnie Hillman and O'Shawn Marino as your running backs. I mean, this team, I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust for them. And hopefully Peyton Manning doesn't go cold again like he always does in December when it gets cold outside in Mile High City. So they'll drop to 5-8, which is a tough record to come back from. They'll head into Week 15 home against the Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer's in town, which I think there was a desperate need for the Cardinals to get a quarterback. After last year, they had Ryan Lindsley and Brian Hoyer and Kevin Cobb and John Skelton, who just could not get it done for Larry Fitzgerald. But I think the Titans are going to win this game. I mean, the Cardinals have a very underrated defense. I think I say this every video. I really like Calais Campbell. I think he's a really underrated defensive lineman. But I think the Titans are going to pull out a win here, 6-8. I think their defense is really going to have to come through. If they can take out Larry Fitzgerald, I think they're going to be all right. I don't know if Mendenhall or Ryan Williams can even stay healthy all 16 games for the Cardinals to have a balanced run attack as well as passing. I think the Titans are going to win this game. It's got to be, though, Jake Locker beating that Cardinals secondary, Patrick Peterson versus Kenny Britt, is going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to pull out a much-needed win. I think Jake Locker's going to start coming into his own in the end of the season and maybe get on a roll for next year and get some momentum. They'll improve to 6-8, which honestly is not that bad of a record for a team that, I mean, I don't think it has a complete team yet. I think they still have some rebuilding to do in the draft. Go get some key defensive players, a linebacker I think they could really use. And I think heading into Week 16, they're away against the Jaguars. Titans, if they're going to beat anybody twice, it's the Jaguars. They'll get a win. I only expect a couple wins for the Jaguars this year. They don't have much pieces in place on offense. Gus Bradley has his hands tied. Again, it's away at Jacksonville, which isn't really a tough place to play. I mean, obviously the Heat. They'll win and improve to 7-8, and they'll be on a 2-game win streak almost to end the season. But then Week 17, the Texans are home. Oh, the Titans are home in Tennessee. but Houston needs a win here to stay ahead of the Colts in the division lead, and I think the Titans will lose and drop to 7-9. I'm not sure what Dave has the Texans going, but I believe they'll win the division, even though I have the Colts at 10-6. So the Titans' final record is 7-9. That's going to do it for today's schedule rundown edition for the Tennessee Titans. Again, 7-9 is the record. Not a bad one for a team that, again, has some young pieces. I think Jake Locker, honestly, if he can get you 7 wins, stay healthy. Ryan Fitzpatrick's a very good backup just in case he does get hurt. There's some good pieces on offense. I think the offense is set. I think they're ready, but they just got to hope for Jake Locker. If he can develop into what they want him to be in his third year's the charm, hopefully. I think they'll be okay, 7-9. They'll compete for a playoff spot. I think next year is going to take one more year, unless maybe they get a win against the Colts and maybe we're talking 8-8. So that's going to do it. Follow me on Twitter at DBSportsTalk. Follow my partner Dave at DaveCrushSports. Check out my articles at GetRealFootball.com. Also check out our videos at YouTube.com/NFL Experts.